CT5-V Blackwing. This is the all-new Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing, and in this video, we're gonna find out how it drives in these beautiful Malibu mountain roads. Now, if you're not familiar with the Cadillac CT5 Blackwing, this is the most aggressive Cadillac you can buy today, featuring 668 horsepower with a supercharged V8 and a 6-speed manual. You can opt for an automatic if you want one. However, for this video, we are keeping it as raw as possible and trying to get the best driver's experience through that mechanical action in the cockpit. And I cannot wait to see how it drives out here. This being the Blackwing, you may be thinking right now, well, it's got a Blackwing, doesn't it? Let's go all the way back. This spec right here has an exposed carbon fiber wing, so technically not a Blackwing. Nonetheless, this spec, this build right in front of us looks absolutely amazing. Another CTV, starting at right around $80,000 out the door, this exact spec with all the upgraded carbon fiber all throughout the car, even with the interior right here opening it up. You can see the entire carbon fiber middle console, the door side components. You're looking at right around $98,000. I really do want to highlight all the amazing body lines all throughout this new V model. Coming all the way down here, you have these heat extracting vents behind the front wheels that will help relieve a lot of the high pressure air going out the back, and it just looks plain cool behind the front tires. You do have two 75s up front with 35 by 19 dimensions, and then out back you do have 305s to go alongside. So plenty of a contact patch all throughout the car. And then when you look at the main Cadillac headlights up front, the design is very aggressive. I love how far they did go with this car, because you can see how even the side lights are going straight all the way down underneath the front fascia, or at least giving you that appearance from the front end. Looking at this car rolling with the running lights turned on, it just looks aggressive and kind of like a sleeper. And then moving towards the center, you can see some of the radiators. All together, you have 10 heat exchangers all throughout the car, which means on the track, you're not going to find any issues with the cooling. And then a few other cool points to note. When you look at the Cadillac badge in the middle, it's massive, right? But keep your attention on the shape. Look at all these grill cutouts. It's the same shape as the Cadillac badge in the middle. Don't you love that nice touch with the design? That's awesome. Moving to the sides, you have even more radiators hidden away at an angle for some cooling to the front brakes. A massive carbon fiber front splitter. Just don't bottom it out. However, clearance seems pretty good for my time with the car so far. Now you see all these extra pieces of carbon fiber, like these side splitter wickers almost. Now this is an option, about $4,000 worth of carbon fiber on this car. There's a second package of carbon fiber which adds even more, that being a carbon fiber rear diffuser down below. If we come all the way down here, this car does not have that option. However, as is though, you still do get a ton of extra carbon. No matter what angle you look at this car from, it looks extremely aggressive with all these contoured angles all throughout. A few last things I want to highlight real quick. It's that look how massive these brake rotors are and calipers. About 15 inches. This one is optioned with the steel brakes, the iron rotors, and you can get carbon ceramics for about $9,000. If you plan on driving this car on the street and want the best braking system possible, the carbons will be that option, that option for you, and they will give you virtually no brake dust versus what you're getting right here. However, if you plan on using this car for what it's meant for and driving hard, you will find less costs with this normal steel system. That being new brake pads or chain at the rotors will not be anywhere close to the price it would be with the carbons. So that's really weird. I'm looking at these side vents and it looks like they are functional, but I'm going on this side and I'm not seeing how they are. Maybe this is an option, these rock flaps, and this press car has them installed, because I'm not sure where else the exit air would go, the high turbulent air behind these front wheels. There's no other exit point. What do you think about that? Interesting. This could be one of those a la carte options that you can buy to not get as many rocks hitting you when you're driving, which makes sense. If you're not tracking this car, leave these on. Maybe these just come off for the track prep if you do want to use all the extra airflow that is designed with this vehicle. You got V on the actual caliper. You've also got a V right here on one of the spokes of these standard wheels. There are optional black wheels and so forth, but that is definitely a nice touch. You've got tons of sensors all throughout the vehicle. This cutout is for your tow hook, but even more sensors, as you can see, which will alert you when you're parking or for driving. And you have a main front camera that can be used for when you're parking or for the 360-degree view around the car. Here we have it, popping the hood for the Cadillac CT5-V. Tons of these all throughout the car, as you can see. This is hand-built, handcrafted, and it tells you exactly who built it. That's nice. They even printed out the name, that being Latrice. This is a 6.2-liter supercharged V8, that being you will have all the torque and power instantaneously available because you're not relying on a turbocharged system. Massive intake system, as you can see. This will help reinforce the chassis for hard and high-speed corners. Again, 668 horsepower. That is a ton. Here we go, opening up the front door of the Blackwing. I love all the extra Alcantara, the suede with the white stitching all throughout and the carbon fiber. Nice chrome door handle, as you can see, with an AKG audio system all throughout. That sounds amazing. As you can see, we have 3 pedals right here. This is a 3-pedal equipped vehicle. Closing up the door, same dashboard display, I believe, as the C8 Corvette, and the infotainment system, but finished in a different housing all throughout. This steering wheel looks so cool, by the way. I love the thick leather finish to it. Plus, the 12 o'clock racing stripe up in the middle is a nice touch. So when taking corners fast, you know exactly the amount of steering angle you've applied with this front steering wheel. To the left, you have your cruise control system, your heated steering wheel option, and driver monitoring system that will tell you about incoming car crashes and so forth. You can hang up your phone and turn off audio with this left button down here, and here's your voice activation switch. This right here is your V button, which is very similar to the Z mode in the C8 Corvette. That being, it's a customizable mode selector, whereas when you hit the button, you can customize if you want like loud mode and fast, let's say throttle response, but then you want smooth suspension. You can save that, and whenever you get in the car, instantly hit this button and you'll be ready to go. Another nice touch is that on the bottom, they show you which number CT5V you are. I love that feature, and it would be very nice to see this in more vehicles. On the right side, you can control your infotainment system with these buttons. Down below, this is similar to how Ferrari does it. Yes, this is a mode selector to a point. By pushing up or down with this button, you can change to the performance traction management settings. That being, you can go into track mode and then even further customize that with sport settings for the road or race mode. There's different levels of each driver's mode. It's such an awesome feeling having a 6-speed manual again, shifting it it feels extremely sharp and just quick. I miss this so much. What's interesting about this car is that the key is the same essentially out of the C8 Corvette, right? It looks just like my C8 Corvette key, but when you get inside your Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing, you lay your key right here in the middle. It won't fly around. That's exactly where it goes. The V logo right here is telling you to put it here. I love the carbon fiber all throughout the center console with the cup holders, and you can easily rest your arm right here with the nice and curvy and flowing leather that is extremely soft and nice feeling to the touch. You can lay your arm right here if you want, or use your elbow and lay it here while you shift through the gears, and your arm will not be touching your cups or whatever drink you have in here. A lot of cars with manuals, you can't even shift because your big gulps from Chick-fil-A is in the way and you can't shift. You know what I'm talking about. Up top you have your wireless phone charger. Just lay your phone right in there. Looking up, you have this amazing suede finish over the roof line, which is also very soft to the touch. You don't have an open sunroof with this model that we're in. However, there's tons and tons of room in here. And what's interesting about it is that you can barely see it from this camera angle, but the roof line bows up even more where the driver and passenger sits, as you can see from this angle right here, but then it lowers down to a sloping fastback roof line. These seats look amazing with their carbon back design, and they have tons of amenities. For example, they have 3 different levels of massaging. Also, they are heated and ventilated, so cooled. The bottom supports move. It is insane the amount of customization these seats give you, yet they look so amazing. They're also detailed. These must be some of the greatest seats I have ever seen in any car. Well, you've got to realize why. We're in a Cadillac, for crying out loud. They've got to make it luxurious, the presidential treatment, right? And they've done a great job so far for my experience, my first impressions. Alrighty, pushing in the clutch, we are in neutral. Start button is right back here. Oh yeah. The car is vibrating. It sounds very, very impressive. Change the modes, shall we? Let's go into track mode to open up those exhaust valves and get a good idea of how this car sounds. Here's track mode. Change the display. It's very much like the C8 Corvette that I have, with the main RPM bar going down the top, going left to right. So in track mode, you can customize the different apps, I guess you can say, these floating display options, depending on what you want. Right now we have like tire pressure and temps and so forth. Looking to the right, you can cycle through your performance options. Here is your G-force indicator. Scrolling down, you have launch control, which is activated by going to the PTM settings, aka by switching and cycling through your PTM, performance traction management settings. You can activate launch control. Pushing up on it, as you can see, PTM settings are changing. Right now it's inactive, but you can turn it on wet for basically even more enhanced control for how the traction control system works. You have your standard dry settings, sport, which is even more aggressive, race, which is the second most aggressive setting you have, and then race 2 essentially gives you max power, and it's removing as much of the driving aids as possible. And then if we hit V mode, for example, you can see what I'm talking about. This is fully customizable, so you can edit whatever you want up here. So if I want max steering aggression, I can do that. I can also leave suspension on soft, but I can increase brake pedal feel, so it's like the most aggressive again possible. You can even save PTM settings. You can always have launch control basically enabled. Anyways, let's go ahead and roll down the windows and get a good idea of how this thing sounds. So going back into track mode, as you can see. Oh, I love those backfire pops. Wow. It's actually limiting me to just about 4,000 RPM because we are parked. And real quickly, underneath all your climate control options, you can look at a 360-degree camera system, which will show you how to parallel park, I guess you can say, or get a good idea of your surroundings around you. And you have so many different options. As you can see, we're next to a cliff line. The visibility you have, thanks to all this technology, is very impressive. If I hit the side control panel for the seats, you can see how it gives you tons of different control options for the seats. That being, you can raise raise or lower the side lumbar supports, or you can tighten the sides by cycling through them with this button right here. To the far left, this is how you control your info tile selection. So you put on your coolant temperature and your engine boost with the supercharger, plus your instant fuel economy, and then your lateral G-forces. Or you can go all the way down to tire status, transmission fluid temp. That is so cool. Here's your driver's assistance page, your phone connection, your oil life, so you can see how your oil filter life is okay, also how many engine hours you have, and then lastly you can change your display theme. So right now we have it linked to our driver's mode, but we have another option for tachometer. So let's look at numerical. So it's gonna rev from the outside to the inside, then flash with the red lights in the middle, giving us our exact numbers. I love this display so much. Now, best fuel economy I've gotten, it says, with this vehicle is approximately a 25 mpg. My average lately has been about 13, because I like going through the gears, as you can see. And then you have your normal car settings and so forth throughout the vehicle main infotainment system. Plus you have PDR, so when you go to the racetrack, you can put in a SD card. This is optional, about 1,600 bucks. But it's well worth it in my opinion, because as you can see, you've got different recording options like track overlay, which when you go to the racetrack, you can pre-save your own track and hit record, and it'll record with 1080p resolution, your driver input with pedal input, also your brake input, your steering angle, when you're shifting and so forth, and your RPM. If not the biggest fan of the racetrack, you also have like a drag strip timing, which as you can see right here will give you the drag strip readout for going on the quarter mile. Sport is a good mode if you just want to record street driving with the date. Then lastly, here's standard, which you can turn on and use as a, well, basically a street driving camera. I'm excited about this one because, again, this is the end of an era, right? Manual transmission, and you're not going to see very many manually equipped cars anymore. They're going away, right? So it's very sad to think about, but if you can find an allocation for one of these cars, I would go for it, just because of what it's offering. It's gonna go down in history, I think, in the books, as being probably the most raw Cadillac you can buy. Alrighty, so here we go. Let's make the car loud by going into track mode. Open up the exhaust valves, see how it sounds. Wow, it's got like these pops and backfires whenever you let off on the throttle. That is so cool. Oh man, I am a big fan of the way this pushrod supercharged V8 sounds. Downshifting, it'll auto rev match for you, which I love the feeling of that. It lets you focus on your driving line, when to shift, and also your braking, instead of having to maneuver your heel left and right on the brakes to do a heel toe downshift. Giving it power now. It's like no throttle at all, and it just hooked up, and it sounds amazing. It straightens up over here, so we can give it a bit more throttle. Getting into these corners right here, downshifting the car, listening to the supercharged V8 echo off the canyon walls. It is so engaging, and being in track mode, it really stiffens up the suspension, the adaptive suspension, so that you don't feel much body roll at all. It's really getting tidy in the driver's seat, but also it's not beating me up. Some cars, when you put on track mode or sport suspension settings, it can be pretty violent in the driver's seat. This car, no, it's still a Cadillac, yet it still gives you a lot of the control and the fast spring rates that you want for a track car. Wow, that's just second gear, giving a throttle down low. And you can just stay in one gear because you got so much torque. Rev matching really allows you to get a smooth transition in between each gear change. How is this a four-door? Woo! The thing is so composed. Reminds me a lot of like an AMG in the corners. How is it able to maneuver like this with the weight transfer left and right? It doesn't feel like a four-door vehicle. Wow, this is so crazy. The amount of power you have, it definitely feels like 600. 168 horsepower. The best part about having a manual transmission is that you can just pop it in neutral if you want to, going down the hill, and then give it some awesome revs. So like I'll do that right about now, I think. We're in neutral. Wow! And you can track this non-stop. Make sure to watch our track test video. He's going real fast. Whoa, is that electric? Man, it's just dead hooked. I'll be honest, the steering is not the quickest. It doesn't have the most aggressive steering rack, but the steering doesn't get overly heavy in track mode where it's tiresome to drive with. It feels just smooth enough and sharp enough for the type of car that you are in. And not just that though, you can always bring it down a few levels by lowering the driver setting. Driving this car, it gets small around you. You feel like you're in a proper performance vehicle, but everyone knows that's what this car is all about. That's what the V brings you. This is a car meant for the driver, about having an exciting and great time, but also being that business professional. So let's say that you finish your morning canyon run. Now you pop the car into, let's say, touring mode so that you can calm down and get the luxurious Cadillac treatment. The exhaust valves have now gotten quiet. The suspension is smoothened out. And now it's just about getting from point A to point B. Then you can roll up to your wedding or your business event and you'll be in style, perfectly comfortable. Ooh, Acura NSX. Nice. And he knows how to angle it. A lot of people don't know how to angle cars. Luckily he does. This car, it's not too bad to angle, just go a bit sideways. Now we are on Pacific Coast Highway next to Malibu and Los Angeles, California, living it up in this Cadillac. This car perfectly fits LA and Malibu. I'm extremely impressed with what Cadillac has developed here. Blackwing has lived up to all my expectations of what I thought it was going to be, and is actually even more aggressive than I thought. You can easily track the car, you can relax with it, pop it into comfort mode, and it's definitely a luxurious experience. Anyways, that's the Cadillac CT5 Blackwing. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button to help me out and subscribe for much more great videos coming out your way. The thing is a beast. I'm so impressed with it, and having a manual makes this car so appealing. I kind of want to get one because it's going to be the end. It's going to signify the end of a great era. I'll see all of you in the next episode.